Hey there, it's Margarita Alcantara of Alcantara Acupuncture and Healing Arts, activator for the new Code of Power. And today I wanted to hop on because a lot of people ask me, yesterday I did this really vulnerable share that talked about, where I got really deeply disconnected from myself, from my sacredness, from my sacred power, and how that impacted me and how I transformed that. And it seemed to really be a popular, powerful story because I actually heard a lot of real powerful feedback from that. And so I kind of wanted to segue from that and really talk about, what are some of the tools that I use. Because there are some tools that, I draw from my toolbox. And although I won't be able to cover all of them, in this short broadcast, I did want to share, some of my favorite things that really do help me to tap into the sacredness of my power, no matter what. And that's the truth, is that when you are in your power in general, you're able to draw from your toolbox that can help you transform and transmute certain situations so that you're not feeling so overwhelmed by the situation, or it won't take you down, right? Because I mean, the difference. Hi there, Lima. Good to see you. And Kat is here as well. Yeah, please do say hi. Good to see folks. Hi, Jasmine. So yeah, there are a bunch of couple tools. I mean, when I first started out as an acupuncturist or Reiki master teacher, a lot of it was, getting healing sessions, and they always have an important place, right? Because sometimes you do need some healing work. But I'm talking about, when you're not in that emergency mode anymore, and when you are either maintaining things. I mean, you could also do healing sessions for that. You can do healing sessions for maintaining things. But there are so many things that you can also do at home. And so the truth is that if you're an energy worker, a light worker of some sort, or some kind of practitioner, there are things that you can do at home, right? And sometimes you can practice these modalities on yourself at home. And so, whether that be acupuncture or Reiki, because, I know that, I sometimes use whatever either of those modalities are, right? And I use them, and also the shamanic work. But the truth is that the majority of the work that I do on myself these days really comes down to activation work. And so, I'll just go in there and I'll tweak things and just apply it, right? And because that actually works much, much faster than these other modalities. So it's really powerful. But that said, there are also other things that you can do. And I know that some of these things resonate for some of you, such as crystals, such as sacred essential oils, herbs, what else? I know I'm missing something because there's so many things. And also, some shamanic tools, breath work, and also mindset shifts, things like that. Because actually, that is something that not a lot of people talk about, especially in the love and light community. They talk a lot about crystals and the oils, and maybe herbs, depending on their modalities. But they rarely talk about the mindset. And for me, that is one of the top things, because you can be as jujued out on your crystals and your essential oils, but if your head is not right and you're believing really false beliefs, that will, none of this juju is going to take effect. Because if you are like as an example, I know a lot of folks in the love and light community. Hi, Priya, good to see you. Hi, Elise. And, a lot of folks in the love and light community, we use a lot of crystals. We use a lot of essential oils. For some of us, we use herbs as well. But the thing is that if you aren't right in the head, if you are still believing outdated beliefs and old patterns that are keeping you stuck, no amount of sacred essential oil or crystals or anything of that sort is going to help. And that's the honest truth. That's speaking as a practitioner. That's speaking as a person who's been doing this activation work for a while. And And that's one thing that I've noticed, right, is that when things don't gel, right, when people don't get better, quote unquote, right, it's usually because there's some aspect of themselves that want to stay stuck, that want to stay in pain. And, whatever form that takes, right? For one person, it's I don't know, frozen shoulder. Or another person, it is some thyroid disorder. And a lot of these things, unless they're due to some kind of trauma or direct impact or some kind of like lab result, that's in the blood, usually that's something that we create, right? And like, to be honest, there are a lot of people who will actually say, we create everything. We create all of our stuff, right? And I know, like, for me, like, I've had experiences with, like health concerns and things. I created all those health concerns, right? So, and that's the truth. And Priya, she's one of my colleagues. I went to acupuncture school with her, and she's sharing here on Instagram. She says, so true. And that's true. Jasmine here is saying on Facebook, mindset shifts have been huge for me. Yeah, and that's really a game changer, because if your mind isn't right, you can do as much like healing techniques and certain tools in your toolbox, but it will not take, right? And so I would have to say that the number one tool in my toolbox is my mindset, because the difference between a person who's in their power and a person who's not, usually it begins with a mindset. Because a person who's not in their power, for instance, will have the mindset of, I can't do this, I'm limited, like because of my health, or because, I'm not pretty enough, or because I am 10 pounds overweight, or because I'm not perfect, because I'm scared to be in front of the camera, or because I'm or because my mom, was cruel to me when I was younger, or, or this certain experience occurred to me when I was younger, or I don't have money, or I feel unloved, or I don't feel worthy, these are all stories. These are all things that we create in our head as truth. And the truth of that truth is that it's not truth. Anything that tells us that we're not good enough, or that we're not strong enough, or that we're not capable, or that we are limited on some level is a lie. It's false. It's a lie. And so anything where it's related to a fear, I guess that's the way that you can really tell, is that if it's related to a fear, it's a lie. And if you're believing some form of that lie, then you're creating your own truths, and you're creating something out of nothing that isn't even real, right? So as an example, for instance, let's say, for example, I'll take one of my own examples, for instance. Like back in the day, one of the things that I heard often was that I shouldn't be so sensitive, or I shouldn't pick up on things, or, I need to, like all that juju I was already exuding when I was younger, that I needed to calm that down, right? Because it was undesirable, and really what that was, what happened was that then I created a story around that, right? I created a story of, oh, me being intuitively gifted is not okay. It's strange. It's weird. No one will accept me for that. And it's not okay. And I need to dumb that down, right? When the truth was that it was the individuals who were sharing this, sharing this opinion, that it was coming from their own limited beliefs, right? Because they were either afraid that I would not be accepted to others, right? And they were concerned about other people's reactions. They were not feeling strong enough in themselves to either defend themselves or me, right? And so there was a whole story that was going on that had nothing to do with me. Yet, I created a story around that. I created a story of, oh, it's not okay. And so I shut it down, right? Because I took the information as truth, and then I operated from that truth. But the reality of that truth is that that was based on fiction. It was based on fear. It was based on someone else's fear. It was based on actually a couple people's fear. And so that's actually what happened, was that I believed that, and then I made that my truth. And so, and of course, you know, that's been since blasted, of course, quite obviously, right? But that's just an example of, you know, this is how we create our truths, right? So is it really true that, let's say, you're unlovable, or you're incapable of, you know, achieving, you know, whatever you want to be achieving in the world? Like, I know that I've gotten on calls with some folks, and they'll talk about the impact they want to have in the world, right? And for a lot of starseeds and light workers, energy workers, empaths, you know, we are meant to be making a huge difference in the world, right? But if we're too scared to make that difference in the world based on truths of we're not capable, people will not love me if I'm on camera, or if I'm visible, being all in my woo, or whatever, you know, our thing is, then, you know, we're basing all of that on some untruth, right? So, so then the way you shift it is that you create an awareness and an understanding of, oh, I'm making that as my truth. I'm claiming that as my truth. And the reality is that that's not even true. So question that as your truth. And then if it's not true, and if it's, and the way to tell is it aligned with fear on some level? And if it is, which it likely is, then what can you insert instead? What can you replace it with? And so that's how you would handle that kind of mindset shift. And so my number one tool would have to be having a powerful mindset. Because if you don't have that, you can put as much, like, you know, crystals on you, you can put as much like essential oils on you and throw that on you, and it won't do shit, because if your head's not right, you know, if your head's not in the game, and if your head and your heart are not in sync and in alignment together, so that you can move forward in your real power, in your true power, then that will be very difficult, right? So that's my number one tool, getting your mindset in check. And so that comes with awareness. It also comes with, in my opinion, and what's worked really, really good for me is meditation. And I've talked about that before, and it's a game changer. So that said, once you got your mind right, and which also means that you're not getting spun out with your emotions, right? Because that's one thing that actually a lot of light workers or starseeds might actually do often, and that's something I've observed. That's something that they've shared with me too, is that you know, that someone's energy or their thoughts or their feelings or whatever they share with them, it can wreck their day or even like their whole week, right? But when you're really in your power, it's not that you don't get disturbed. It's not that you don't get bothered. It's not that you don't have a bad day. It's that you experience all these things and you draw from your toolbox, you apply what you've learned, and you transmute and transform that situation very quickly. So, so that's what I mean. And so then if you don't create a story around, you know, like, oh, this person did this to me and therefore blah, 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 and then make this whole story about it, right? And then, so that's what I mean. So that's also part of the mindset shift and really getting in your power, in your mindset. And so that said, assuming that the mind is on board, then other tools that I love, love, love are crystals. I mean, these are things that you will always see me, you know, I got all my crystals on me. I got even crystals in like all my piercings, that, you know, like even these other little tiny piercings, I've got like, you know, like stones all over the place, right? And I sleep with them. You know, they're all around my desk right now. You know, they're encrusted in my shamanic tools. They're in my private practice, in my treatment room. I mean, they're all over the place. And so I love them, right? And quite obviously. And my favorite ways to work with crystals. Well, first of all, I love to sleep with them because they do really, really help. So if there are any of you who are like insomniacs out there, or you get a little restless in your head, like before you go to bed, you know, first of all, meditation and like some breathing exercises are really helpful for that. And that's something that I do if I ever have any difficulty with sleep, but also the crystals. Very, very helpful. And then they also help with my patients. I apply them on my patients. And when I work with clients, like over virtual calls or in person, I also work with crystals. Sometimes I'll have some wands. I don't have any wands beside me right now, but sometimes I'll use some wands and I'll just like direct the energy. And those are like some shamanic, I kind of border on shamanic. Well, I don't border, I do shamanic stuff. So, and even just like right here, right now, I've got this like huge ass piece of citrine that's just hanging out on my desk because, I mean, this is just like one of like so many crystals. It's like strewn across my desk. And that's like because I just love crystals. I love being around them. They each have a purpose. I mean, like I'm kind of speaking to the converted most of the time when I'm on these Facebook and Instagram lives because a lot of folks are already using crystals. But, just kind of as a basic like umbrella, the crystals, I really love them because they resonate with various frequencies. They increase and elevate your vibration, and every single one has a very specific job. And like for instance, I mean, this is a wand, and this is a blue stone, a Porcelli blue stone that I got from Stonehenge. And so and this can be used as like a tool for body work. It's great. And of course, yeah, it's just hanging out here with my 10 million other stones. And so I love working with them as amulets, to help, with my vibration and, protection and things like that. And for help when I'm going to sleep, for augmenting the frequency when I'm performing ritual, for my patients, for my clients to augment the impact of a certain session. And oftentimes, like my clients and my patients aren't really aware unless I'm actually laying them down on their body physically, right? And so that's something that I love crystals, right? So number one is mindset. Number two, crystals. And three, I love essential oils. Essential oils are a huge tool for me. I love, love, love them because they literally bypass all, our thinking mechanisms, because there are many of us in society who like think and think and think and think. And we think that by thinking, we're actually accomplishing something, but all that's accomplishing is just a lot of thinking. The power really comes in doing. It doesn't come from the thinking. And that's like actually a huge mistake that I see with a lot of light workers and energy workers and empaths and starseeds is that they're like, let me think about it. It's like, and it's not so much the thinking. It's just really the, this belief that you need to process, when the truth is that light workers, energy workers, empaths, and starseeds, like we just tap in, we just plug in into the frequency and it's done, right? And then all we need to actually do is just apply and take action. And that's the piece that not all light workers will take action on, right? Because it's something that it's easier to have a concept. It's easier to think about things and try to be perfect about it rather than apply action. So that's really an easy thing to do. And so what I love about essential oils is that it bypasses all that thinking and it just affects the energetic system and elevates the frequency like very quickly. So some of my favorite essential oils, are sweet marjoram. I love sacred white sage essential oil, which I use very rarely, but it's something that I really, really love. And rose, I do love those. And so those are the reasons why I love essential oils, because you can apply it on certain acupuncture points. You can use carrier oils and all that stuff. And I mean, it's been really, really amazing. And so I would have to say that those are my top 3 tools that I resource on the daily. Off the top of my head is the mindset shift, number 1. Number 2, crystals. Number 3, essential oils. And there are so many ways to use them, to anoint, to heal, to empower, to strengthen, to protect. And so I just wanted to share that with me. So does anyone like resonate with this? Is this something that people are also feeling? Do you also use essential oils or crystals? And how are you doing on your mindset? Because these are things that are so, so vital for light workers. And so I know that Jasmine has said that the mindset shifts have been huge. And I know that you've actually made a lot of huge mindset shifts, Jasmine. So, you know, for sure, for sure. And so anyone else have any questions or comments about what I just shared around some of my favorite tools to get in touch with your sacred power, which were basically the mindset, you know, getting your mind right, the crystals and the essential oils. Like, I'd have to say there's so many tools. There's like sound healing. I mean, there's so many things. But those are like my top 3. And those are like literally non-negotiable because they're so impactful in my life. And so, you know, does anyone resonate with this? Hit yes in the comments below if that's something that resonates for you. And if so, you know, I'd love to hear what does resonate for you and if it's something that you apply in your life. And so, you know, and all these tools are, you know, tools that are very, very important to have in terms of, you know, being in your power, and especially being in your sacred power. And so actually today, I wanted to announce that today's the last day that you have the chance to take part in my Sacred Power Circle. It's a 5-day virtual retreat, and that is going to be starting next Monday. It's going to be for 5 days, and each day we're going to go deep diving into some real powerful stuff. So like, for instance, you know, my top 3 non-negotiables that I use as my tools, I'll be exploring them. Like, I mean, for instance, on one day, I'm actually going to be using day 2 for exploring sacred essential oils because it's so, so powerful. And when I mean going deep diving, I'm talking about, you know, what are the sacred essential oils that you should be using for specific conditions, certain blends I recommend, how to make blends. You know, it's, you know, there's only so much that I can fit, so it's not going to be like, you know, like a week-long seminar on oils, for instance, but it is going to be quite comprehensive, and we're going to go deep, and I'm going to give you all these details on the sacred essential oils on day 2. And so other things like cord cutting. Cord cutting is uber important for every person who desires to be powerful in their lives. And that's because so many of us, not so many, I'd have to say everybody, we all create connections with people, right? Like, whether they're good ones or bad ones. And I don't know if I want to use the word bad, but we have all kinds of ties to people. We're connected with cords with various people. And sometimes these cords are connected with love. Sometimes they're connected with pain. Sometimes they're connected with suffering. Sometimes they're connected with negativity. But the truth is that, you know, and sometimes there are cords that are completely parasitic. And so that's something that, you know, all this stuff around cord cutting, you know, I do actually have physical shamanic tools because I am a shamanic practitioner. I'm initiated in the Mayan Toltec tradition. And so I do actually have physical tools to apply cord cutting rituals with. But there are ways to cut cords without shamanic tools. And there are ways to do that effectively and ways to do that not so effectively. And so that's also something that I'm going to be dedicating like a whole day of the retreat on, so that you can really break free from these old cords and these ties and really severing whatever needs to be severed, right? Because that's the truth, is that for a lot of light workers, that's a problem, right? A lot of us, we're so, you know, we have this lightness of being, we have this really powerful light, and there are a lot of people who want to get in on that light, right? But they don't want to work on their own light. They just want to siphon, you know, and so there are people like that. And sometimes they don't mean to be, sometimes they do, but either way, they're around, right? So you have to be very diligent about being powerful, and not in terms of like exerting power over others, right? Because that's not real power. That's artificial power. And so having true power means being strong within yourself, knowing who you are, applying that into the world, and really being in full alignment with who you are as a being and what you're here to make an impact on on the earth, right? And applying that and making that happen. That is showing up in the truth of your power, and that requires you to be connected to your sacredness, to your sacred power. And if you are too busy being a disempowered empath, and like, you know, giving your juju all over the place and like just allowing people to siphon off your energy fields, and then all of a sudden you don't know why you're so tired or you're angry or sick or whatever, then you get to learn how to be empowered as an empath, right? Jasmine says, all these tools have been so important in my journey. Yeah, I agree. And so, so this is just like a tidbit of some of the deep dives that I'm going to be doing during this really powerful sacred virtual retreat that's going to be starting next week. Again, it's called the Sacred Power Circle. Today's the last day you can register. Doors close tonight at midnight. And so that's like in almost 6 hours from now. So if that's something that resonates for you, I do have a link here for those of you on Facebook. I'm just going to copy and paste that here. So if you're interested, I recommend that you hop on and register and join us, because this is a really, really powerful thing. We're going to start off day one on Monday with a powerful sacred power activation. It's going to be a group activation, and then I'm going to like end cap it with a powerful medicine drum ceremony on day 5, and it's going to be really, really amazing. There's going to be medicine drums in there. There's going to be channeling of light language, which is often what happens when I do use my medicine drum. There will also be a shamanic journeying that's going to be occurring in that last day, so it might be you know, some extra time there on day 5, but it's going to be really, really, really powerful. So if there's ever any part of you that has been feeling disconnected from yourself, if there's a part of you that knows that you are here to make a really big difference in the world, but you just can't seem to get your shit together, the reason why most likely is because you are not connected with the sacredness of who you are, not fully connected with your heart, not fully connected with the power of your pineal gland, and that they are not fully aligned. And when you are activated in the fullness of your sacred power, they do become aligned. You do become more aware of your frequency, and you do heighten in your vibration and your frequency. And that's one thing I can guarantee, is that at the end of the 5 days, you will have a transformational spiritual experience, because the stuff that I'm going to be exploring is going to be huge. So if this resonates for you, go ahead and click the link and register using that link that I put here on Facebook and on Instagram. It's in my bio, that link. And if that resonates, I hope to see you there. But, you know, suffice to say, getting in touch and being connected with the sacredness of your power on a very, very deep level is a prerequisite to moving forward into the world in the fullness of your power, in full alignment of who you are, and full alignment of how you're meant to serve, and so you can make the biggest impact that you are meant to make in the world, and also manifest what you want to be manifesting, because that's very important too. So anyway, I hope that served you. And so again, just to recap my top 3 top tools that I love to source from is a healthy mindset, lots of powerful crystals, and essential oils that are high vibrational. And so, you know, and these are things that I'm going to be covering in the 5-day virtual retreat. So I welcome you to join. Like I said, tonight is when the doors will close. So I invite you to join us. In the meantime, much love, light, and power to you. Have a great weekend.